Tropical Storm Cindy is stationary in the central Gulf of Mexico. I'm Mike Naso from the Tropical Update page here on YouTube with the latest on Cindy and the rest of the tropics. We've had two tropical storms in the last 24 hours, and we will get right to it. There's the western areas of the Atlantic Basin. You can see on the left is Tropical Storm Cindy, which is sitting right here in the mid-Gulf of Mexico. Very lopsided. Most of the heavy weather is all on the right side of it. It's almost more subtropical looking than tropical. And then we have Brett, which is now dissipated into an open wave, moving into the Caribbean Sea, caused a lot of gusty winds for areas of the Windward Islands yesterday. So let's get right to Cindy, since that is the main game in town and the one we're going to be focused on here. Cindy, as of 5 p.m., 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, was at 25.7 north, 90.6 west. Winds were 45 miles per hour, gusting higher than that. The movement is stationary. It hasn't been moving. It's been drifting around out there, very disorganized. 999 millibars on the pressure. Of course, we have the tropical storm warnings out for areas of Louisiana and Texas, as we will see this system start to make a move. In fact, some of the computer models are now indicating a little bit more of a leftward bias, which means that this might come closer to Texas, but you have to remember, it's a very lopsided and large disorganized system. So if the center made landfall over Galveston, that doesn't mean that that's where the worst weather is. It could be really bad all throughout Louisiana, even into areas of Mississippi and Alabama, because the main focus with this storm is the heavy rain. I can't emphasize enough the rainfall threat with this system. We saw the flooding in Louisiana last summer, and look at these rainfall rates over the next 48 hours. Everywhere from Apalachicola all the way to Matagorda, you guys could see some heavy rain from this. The entire North Gulf Coast, particularly note the areas here, southeast Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and then back towards the central coastline of Louisiana to Texas. Areas like Sabine Pass, Intercoastal City, Morgan City. You guys are going to be in for some hefty rainfall, to say nothing of areas further to the east. So we're going to be dealing with Cindy over the next couple of days. Now there she is on the brand new close-up visible satellite. They're still working some kinks out, but that gives a good indication that this is still an exposed tropical storm, very disorganized, most of the weather on the right-hand side of it, but it really shows quite well the lack of motion. I mean, if anything, it almost appears to be drifting a little bit towards the east-northeast there, but moving so slowly that it might just be a trick of the eye. It's not really moving much at all, not right now anyways. There's the look from afar, and you can see this is a better indicator of how far the rain shield extends. You can see all this moisture pumping up in the areas of the eastern Gulf of Mexico right into the coastline. From New Orleans to Mobile to Apalachicola, this entire area is just getting constant onshore flow of heavy moisture. And when you combine that with the threat of thunderstorms and flooding, it's going to be a nasty event, and it's not moving at all right now, so the rainfall is going to be prolonged, in contrast to Brett, which we saw yesterday, which moved through very, very quickly. Again, you can see the center of Cindy not moving much at all, although it does appear perhaps that the shear has let up just a little bit on the western and southwest side of the circulation. That could perhaps allow a little bit of intensification, but again, it could actually even strengthen and then start to weaken a little before making landfall wherever it makes landfall along the Louisiana or Texas coast. Now, other than the satellite imagery, we can take a look at the radar, and you can see very heavy rainfall indicated here coming into areas of Louisiana, and there's a good bit of it that hasn't reached the coastline yet. So as soon as Cindy starts moving, we're going to see these heavy bands start to get progressively stronger as they come into areas of the Gulf Coast. And of course, it's interacting with a front, so it's got that connection to it. And so the rain line extends all the way up into the Carolinas, all the way back to Louisiana. It's a very sprawling, weak system, but slow-moving rainmakers could cause a lot of damage. I remember Tropical Storm Allison in 2001. Everybody thought that was going to be a short-lived affair. Ended up being the worst storm of the year for the United States, just because of all the flooding that it brought to areas of the Gulf Coast. Now, as we leave Cindy, we head back to Brett, and you can see what's left of Brett is somewhere right here approaching Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. You can see the winds just streaming straight from south to north, and then the northeast, the wind shear is ripping it apart. It is way too early to have systems like this coming back. Had this been, say, a month or two from now, we could have very well been dealing with a hurricane in the Western Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico. But thankfully, the wind shear is enough to keep this in check. But it could be an indicator that as we head towards August and September, we could potentially see some problems out of the tropics. Look at how fast these clouds are racing here, with the high pressure steering Brett to the west, and then the wind shear just cutting over that, and the whole system getting shredded. Nonetheless, it created a lot of nasty weather for areas of Trinidad, Tobago, the Windward Islands. We even had Grenada report winds upwards of moderate tropical storm force and gusts. So it was a nasty little blow, but you can see what's left of the circulation right in there spinning, and it's going to end up dissipating, and it won't be a problem anymore. Unlike Cindy, the rainfall with Brett was very short-lived because of how fast it's racing here. Cindy, of course, is sprawling and is going to remain a problem. So that's going to do it on Brett, and then Cindy. We'll keep watching. We'll be back with more updates. I will talk to you guys next time.